What is up, my pungos? Andy with Andy Vlogs. Excited to share with you guys this content here. As the title suggests, we'll be going over a bunch of the basic filters and FX filters that you can get with your LiteChaser Pro for the 13 Pro Max. Now, before we jump into it here, I want to make sure and let you know that I've reviewed and unboxed the LiteChaser Pro with the Bluetooth shutter as well as the grip, and showed you what it looks like to have this all set up. Now, check that up above in the links in the description. What we're going to be doing today is going over all of the filters that I purchased. There's about 6 or 7 now that you can choose from, and unfortunately I didn't read the fine print, and I thought that the last year's filters would be compatible with this year's 13 Pro Max or 13 Pro or 13. They are not. They are not compatible. So make sure you know that when you're going into this, that you can't carry anything over from the previous, even the grip. The grip is completely different latching process, so you're going to need to consider that. Andy from the future here. I was actually able to get my hands on the Mist VND 3-5 for the LiteChaser Pro 13. I'm really excited to be able to now open it here for you guys as another one of these FX filters that they have available on their website. My favorite FX filter here from PolarPro for the LiteChaser Pro group is definitely the Mist VND. They've got 6-7 and 3-5. This is the 3-5. It's exactly like all the other filters here. You've got a nice microfiber cloth, some minimalist type of inserts, and then you got the case VND filter itself. Just in the way of comparison here, it is a substantially larger filter like I showed you compared to the other filters. Both of them are VND Mist filters. They're labeled differently as such. Let's go ahead and open it and compare it real quick, see what we're looking at here, if this is something you guys are interested in. Both have the really cool case, kind of a lens case that flaps over it with the rubberization here on the sides. The idea is that you want to install it here first before you take off the case. If you notice here on the back side, it's a little bit different. It's much more square on the older one for last year. This is for the 12 Pro Max. This is obviously the 13, much more circular in nature. I don't know if that's going to make it any different. I don't know why they decided to change it from one year to the other. Let's go ahead and attach it now to the case here. It's pretty straightforward. It just goes straight down like that. You guys can see here, you just go ahead now and peel it off, and there you have it. The mist filter compared to the regular VND filter is supposed to have like this bumpy mist that is sprayed or dipped into it in the glass. It's supposed to help with diffusement and make skin tones a lot more soft. The previous model here, as you can see, you can actually see that there's like dust on here. It almost looks like there's dust. That's because of that filter, that film that's on top. It looks like the filter here for the new version, the 13, is more of a turquoise or like a green filter. Whereas the filter here from last year, it's more of a sepia or, you know, more of the red. Yeah, it's a little more green and as opposed to the orange here on the smaller version. But I'm not seeing that film that they mentioned last year, because I actually texted them and I'm like, hey, it feels like it's dirty here, and they're like, oh no, that's just the mist filter. As you can see here, it can articulate. Here is the 5-stop. Here is the 3-stop. That's nice to be able to have that while you're outside. I didn't want anything else any more extreme, just because, you know, the iPhone doesn't necessarily have the f-stop capability, or at least the shutter speed, manual shutter speed that you can deal with. And so I decided to opt into just the general 3-5. Now, the sliding mount here is a little loose. As you can see, I can shake it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be falling off anytime soon from this lens mount. Adding the grip to it here, you can see I'm on video, and you can see how dark it is. The viewfinder shows me this is the 3rd stop. This is at stop 5. You can see that it's changing dramatically as I change it. And then when I opt to take it off, you can see how much brighter it is now. That's really, really nice. I really, really like that touch. Pungos, we are finally here on location. It's now sunny here where I live. Before it was all overcast and freezing. Now I can show you what the VND 3-5 mist looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off and show you some on and off shots here. What the difference is, what you could do here, and what it does to your skin when you're in direct sunlight. Okay, this is just you know, straight up shot here that we're going to be comparing here. We're going to be panning to the left, panning to the right here. You can notice here that it does have, with that FX filter, it has a little bit lighter orange tinge to it. But all around, I'm actually getting a really nice, contrast. I'm gonna shoot it up into the sun. Getting a little bit of flarage. When it adjusts here, the exposure, you're still getting a pretty clean look. Okay, we've got the VND filter now on my face, as you can see. It's at setting 5, which is nice. I'm gonna back up here with the harsh light. You can see what that looks like. Now that we're in direct light, I'm gonna show you here that it just makes the face a little bit more creamy, a little bit more softer. I'm gonna kind of pan around my face as we have the harsh light. You can tell as you contrast against it without it that you know, it's able to smooth it. It gets you a better exposure, I think, in my opinion. Now we're going to expose it directly to sunlight. I'm gonna go in front of the sun and kind of see what that looks like here. I think it gives you a better exposure despite being directly into the sunlight. I think that looks just fine. Continue to walk around here. You can see how my face looks in the shot. It isn't too bad. Okay, so now we're shooting here on a third-party app, showing you what motion blur looks like here, ideally with having a VND and having you know, the mist filter. I have it at 1/48, which is nice. Typically you can't shoot at that, and you can see how much motion blur there is with my hand as compared to not. This is the same ISO f-stop without the filter on. You can see here that it looks about the same, but guess what? It's 1/2000. Once I get focusing on my hand, you can see now there's no motion blur. That's gonna be one of the big reasons why you want something like this with the LiteChaser Pro. So it's gonna be a little bit windy, but showing you here what it looks like when I run. This is 1/48 now, as opposed to the 1/2000, which is kind of crazy. You can see how much motion blur there is. Obviously you wanna have more of a static shot on a tripod if you wanna get more motion blur, but this is what you're looking at. Alrighty guys, so I ended up getting in between the video of when it was shot at the beginning, and now I ended up getting the 18mm wide from PolarPro. The anamorphic gold and anamorphic blue, unfortunately, were not to code. They ended up sending the wide, which is kind of to code. I did a whole separate video on it, on what it does, but what I wanted to do now is I wanted to show you that you can actually connect the FX filter here to it. It's got a really cool applicator. It's a little bit different than the Moment, where it actually spins like almost 180 degrees. And then it's got this filter mount here that you can place the FX filter on, right onto it. So just place it on here, bring it down, make sure it's spun all the way on. You can take it off, and that's what she looks like. It looks really, really cool. Fits right on there. All right, so here is the lens with it on, as well as the FX filter. You can see there's some issues going on here on the edges. There's a lot of blurring. That's because the lens itself had some issues. Around the edges here, you're seeing some serious spherical blurring. In the middle, though, it is pretty crisp. But right now I have it at 48. I have it 1/48 on the shutter, so you're gonna get some pretty good, I guess, lens blur, which I think is really cool, as you can see. But you know, vlogging like this is a cool option here. The sun isn't like super high up in the sky, but it is enough here on the 5th VND setting here, not 3. I put it on 5, where you can still get it looking really, really crisp and really, really cinematic. So that's definitely an option there for you. Alrighty, well that about does it here, guys. Thanks so much for watching. This is an awesome lens. Highly recommend it if you're gonna wanna be shooting out in the sun. Put a VND filter on, get the mist to make the skin just look so nice and pop. With that said, get a third-party app like the Moment app. There's a bunch of other different apps that allow you to adjust the shutter speed. I can bring it from 2000 all the way down to 48, which will make it so much better, more cinematic there. Please check out some of my other videos where I actually review the lens that goes on top that you can actually fit the filter mount right on, as you guys saw. Consider checking that out here, as well as some of the comparison videos and some of the other FX filters. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Andy with Andy Vlogs signing out.